Allora perché? Chi potrebbero essere
queste persone? Sono gli extraterrestri, sono persone come noi, che hanno un corpo come noi. Negli in questi UFO, che io prendo poi quando parlo, lo prendo in senso largo, cioè anche delle persone che o sono dentro
He says, I'm using this in a large sense, or the people are inside the craft.
You're not going to find anything. Instead, these entities have appeared, have manifest, not only have took people on inside their dimension, in their own in their own kingdom. They have basically kidnapped people, sometimes beaten them up, and then thrown them back into this dimension. And this happened many times. But obviously for the Middle Eastern person, they call it jinns.
Different language to deal with these entities.
We're definitely using.
Who cares what you call them?
No, but we have to be specific here, because the moment you call them UFO, you are doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do. The moment you call them aliens, you're doing exactly what the enemy wants you to do.
Let's talk about your background a little bit.
No, but let's finish about Planet X, because Planet X is very important. If we don't finish,
sure, we want to go there, but I'd like to first talk about. You must have evolved. You have not sold your soul. Is this correct?
At a certain time, I sold my soul. I hope that God will grant me that I will be forgiven for what I did, and I will be able.
Because
to...
you did evocation. You must do this as. Do you consider yourself a master at this point? You're 33-degree Mason.
33 degrees, an honorary title which I didn't give much importance. The 90 and 95 of the Memphis and Mizraim, which is an Illuminati rite of the Freemasons, which is itself a specific Egyptian rite, I give a bit more importance because there is a lot more esoteric, evocational knowledge. Some people say the Illuminati don't exist. Well, I mean, this is an official document from the Raoul Makis Lodge, and leaves no doubt that the Illuminati not only exist, but they practice what is known as the primitive rite of Memphis and Mizraim, which is the Egyptian rite. This rite brings them above the 33 degrees, because the Memphis and Mizraim goes until the 99 degrees. And it's basically the peculiarity of this rite that for me made it a difficulty to stay in the Illuminati, because this rite, on the contrary of the others that, okay, are corrupted politically, they have a political, but this one is completely diabolic in its own internal belief system, and leads many of its members to become involved in Satanism. In fact, for example, heads of the Memphis and Mizraim in Italy, like Roberto Negrini, is involved in a satanic anti-Christian Ordo Templi Orientis Fraternitas Hermetica Luciferiana, or there is many others like him in America that have, like Michael Berthiaud, been involved in Satanism, and also close to Anton LaVey, I found a lot of other characters here in Europe that practice the Memphis and Mizraim. Here in Sweden,
isn't this the Bush family also involved in the Illuminati and Satanism?
Sure, sure. Each one is involved with their own orders, their own lodges, their own degree systems. The Skull and Bones have their own operational way of working, their own legends, the Knights of Euluga, a specific kind of initiation where you have the devil, Don Quixote and the Pope. That should already tell you who are really the figures here that are in charge of the real power, because the Pope is sitting on the center, and even if George Bush likes to dress up as Popey when he's down at the Skull and Bones, he's not the Pope. So, and he's not the devil.
Okay, but is the Pope the devil?
No, these are different characters that actually are enacted during the initiation of the Skull and Bones.
Right, and also at Bohemian Grove as well.
Bohemian Grove is a different kind of initiation. There they like to dress up in even more fancy clothes, usually Republicans, a lot of whores. A lot of prostitution goes on during the nights of Bohemian Grove.
A fake sacrifice ceremony or a real sacrifice?
Real sacrifice is at times when you have the most secretive operations that are aimed for in some way maintaining the real occult path of the structure, which is of worshipping an owl, of Saint John of Nepos, this old character from Bohemia. And why Bohemia is so important? Well, Bohemia, because then you have also from Bohemia, you have Jacob Boehme, who was himself one of the most illustrious Rosicrucians of all time.
Right, but the point of it is worldly success, is it not?
Worldly success?
I mean, in terms of Bohemian Grove, what is their purpose?
The point for all these clubs is different. And it's created by the people who actually have created them, and then the people on top who manipulate them for their own purpose, whatever is the purpose. For example, is to blackmail people. The practices might be very twisted. If it is to create a fraternal bond of death, like the Order of Death in the Skull and Bones, then a human sacrifice is required to melt that bond together, so those people feel connected by a secret that is impossible.
And who becomes sacrificed in this situation? Is it a child?
Now, what happens in the Illuminati by their own instructions is an ancient practice that was also done by the rabbis, in the most orthodox rabbis in ancient, since ancient times in Israel. And this is to create a fetus and sacrifices amongst the members of the congregation eat this fetus.
Really?
So this is really what also Crowley described in the higher degrees of his Ordo Templi Orientis, and what is practiced, as I said, comes from an old, also Jewish practice, but where did they take this kind of practice? These practices are born from ancient times, from their captivity in Babylonia to their permanence in Egypt. Egypt is the example of what the Illuminati are. Now, I will show you also later a picture of how the lodge is here in Oslo.
We went there.
You went?
Yes.
Okay, but inside. I have a picture of the temple inside.
Very good. Yes, we were not allowed inside.
What I can tell you about the temple inside is they are called a Christian Masonic order. Okay, there are only Christians in. Many Freemasons around the world are actually horrified by the fact that here in Scandinavian Freemasonry can be so racistic, that can't include the Jews, the Hindu, the Muslims, because of their own Christian order of Knights Templars, because that's what they claim to be. You saw their cross in the symbol when you went to their headquarters, with the lion and,
yes,
and a red cross and a
But you're saying this is
inside,
an emphasis.
The emphasis outside is on Christianity, but if you go inside their temple, on top you will notice this symbol.
Sure.
That is nothing of Christian origin. You will notice that the temple inside, what is the Swedish rite, one of the most esoteric and most occult rites of Freemasonry, which is practiced here in Norway, is practiced in the whole of Scandinavia. So that means Norway, Sweden, Denmark, also practiced in part of Germany, practiced in Iceland, and also in parts of Finland. This specific rite, the Swedish rite, horrified me by their hypocrisy, because on one side they portray themselves as good Christians to the community, on the other side they are practicing pagan beliefs, which are completely incompatible with the belief in one God. That's why Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, came, because the Christians were already worshipping gods. They left the true path of Jesus already 7 centuries after Jesus came. The Christians were already worshipping other things, including them with Christianity, having a wrong perception of Christianity. The same with the Jews. They started to worship something different when Moses went just up the mountain. Why? Because it's a tendency in humankind to have the worship for these entities that can give you terrestrial power. We were talking about Anunnaki, we were talking about Nephilim, but there is these entities come from other dimensions, other places in this universe. They can cross over into this dimension if we evoke them, if we call them, and also the weak, the ill, the sick of mind, as described by Eliphas Levi in the book of Transcendental Magic, they can become easily possessed by these demons and become their zombies in a way. That's why also we have the zombie character, which is created in voodoo. They give him a very strong poison that completely burns the brain of the character and makes him possessed by this entity.
Well, this is also mind control, is it not?
It's mind control. But that's why you will find that most of the people in the mind control sectors of the intelligence units, the people who are taking control of the PSYOPs operations, they are occultists. Because occultism and black magic is the most ancient form of military tool known to mankind from the ancient times.
Is the Vatican seemingly in the business of trying to find ET?
Yeah, it sounds like a stretch, doesn't it, TJ?
Yeah.
Well, the Vatican got interested in astronomy because they had to keep the calendar, and you need astronomers to do that. And actually, for the last 100 years, there have been Jesuit priests doing research astronomy. So they have a tradition of being interested in astronomy. And maybe the idea of whether there's life out there, especially intelligent life, has an effect on the world's religions. So maybe they want to know the answer.
So do you get a sense from being out there, and you were at this summit, and scientists and astronomers, and you all gathered out there, but did you get a sense that maybe the Vatican wants to know before anybody else?
Well, I think science is such an open process these days that they're not going to have any privileged access to that information. I think maybe they're trying to prepare themselves because, you know, the discovery of alien life, again, especially intelligent life, would really be pretty profound because it would affect our relationship to the rest of the universe.
Does it seem, though, and again, you all are scientists out there, I mean, sure, some of the scientists are religious folks, but for the most part, you all are out there working as scientists at the Vatican, but still, does it come up in your discussions at this conference as well, how possibly some of the findings, if you did find evidence of life out there, that could directly contradict what we know and what we think about religion?
I think there's a distinction between whether we find microbial life, like germs. You know, I was thinking about your last segment. Wouldn't it be scary if we had to deal with alien germs? So that might not threaten the world's religions, but intelligent life, most of the world's major religions have a special relationship between humans and the Creator. And if there are a bunch of other intelligent aliens out there, what does that say about that relationship?
What does that say? And some say it would change the game, essentially, in this country. I'm going to put up something here for our viewers to see. I'm going to share it with you. It comes from Gary Bates, who's the head of an Atlanta-based Creation Ministries International. His quote saying here, "My theological perspective is that ET life, extraterrestrial life, would actually make a mockery of the very reason Christ came to die for our sins, for our redemption." Now, do you believe, you kind of hit on it there, but some validity to that statement that if you find intelligent life out there, do we almost have to start all over?
It makes you wonder whether we've just told ourselves a just so story.